What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Boleros. Sam here with Gab and Maui. Hello, guys.
Christmas
Merry
edition
Christmas to
episodes.
everyone.
Oo nga pala,
Merry
ito na nga palang
Christmas.
Christmas
Ito na
episode
Christmas gift ng
natin.
Boleros to our loyal fans.
Oo nga. So, we are recording today before the start of the Christmas week kasi alam namin, the three of us will be busy. So, we'll be recording a few episodes, hopefully, para meron naman kayong mapakinggan during your habang malamig yung inyong Pasko. Sana naman hindi ganun kalamig. Stay warm and safe with your family and friends ngayong Christmas. But okay, before we celebrate Christmas, I think si Gab pupuntang Japan pa yan. Let's do a podcast. So, kita niyo na yung question in the title. This is a post-UAAP episode. So, we listed down a few questions na maybe napag-usapan namin or some of the fans have inspired us to ask these questions about the UAAP in general. So no particular theme, but overall theme lang is things that maybe changes that the UAAP can implement. Okay? So tama Gab, no? A lot of these I think inspired by some of the comments of people then. Some, if not all.
Some of them. And we're calling this segment, no, Sam, If You Were The UAAP. So,
Okay.
parang a play on our previous segment na nagustuhan ng mga tao, yung If You Were The Coach. Now we're doing If You Were The UAAP.
Which by the way, we're doing also in the future.
Yes,
okay,
we are.
Sige. Let's get started. So, first question. This one's I think question that people have asked before. If you were the UAAP, would you, similar to the NCAA, disallow FSAs in the future? Let's start with alam ko na sasabihin ni Maui dito eh. So let's start with Maui. Pagbabawalan mo ba yung FSAs?
I would not. Vehemently, I would not allow the UAAP to disallow FSAs. It's not because Ateneo dominated with Aj Kwame. It's not because UP dominated with Malik Diop. It's because the level of play of the UAAP has really blossomed. I mean, players who are supposed to play center are now playing small forward and power forwards. We've seen the likes of like Kevin Kiambao, yung most recent, Carl Tamayo, and Isaac Go playing different, not the center position, but transitioning their game, developing other aspects of their game. It's not like before na the UAAP was a post-up league. Diba? Players are now more skilled. Big men now have different dimensions to their game. Diba? Like a player like KQ, we wouldn't have seen a player like KQ come to the UAAP. He was playing as a center, a power forward nung juniors division. So if there are no FSAs, then definitely KQ could have not transitioned to another slot. Another example is Justin Baltazar. He also developed his outside shot. And if we want Philippine basketball to be competitive with the world, we really have to develop our big men. We don't have the luxury of having a lot of 7-footers like Kai Soto. So we need those 6 to 6'9" players to play the power forward slot or even the small forward slot. And I think that this allowing the FSA for the UAAP will be detrimental to this development. But nothing against the NCAA for deciding to go to this route. Gab, what are your thoughts?
I agree, but I would go the other way actually, guys. I will actually add more FSAs to the UAAP.
Uy,
maybe one more.
Relax ka lang.
Hindi.
Okay.
Legit. I know one is probably too much for a lot of people. You know, isang-isa lang. Masyado ng advantage yung dalawa. But ako hindi eh. I look at leagues like the Japan B League who allow how many imports do they allow? 2 or 3 plus an Asian import. So they allow a lot of quote unquote outsiders to come into their league, and it has resulted to better games, better levels of play, more competitive games, more competitive teams in that league. And ako, honestly, one FSA is just not enough. Like, make it two. I know in the past they used to have two, diba? They used to have two, but you can only play
Yeah,
one
Oh,
yes.
yes.
at once.
Yeah.
Diba? So they used to have that rule, but now I think they've reduced it just to one FSA, and that's all you're gonna get. Ako, that's again no very xenophobic kuminsan ng mga Pinoy. At yung atang UAAP, yung we know this from the way they calculate the MVP statistical points, diba? They kind of push it towards the locals more yung than the FSAs. Ako, let's just do away with these things. Ako, adding one more actually would make the league very competitive. If you can get a big man and then another uh, wing FSA, another one who's talented, who knows yung what will happen. Yung tama si Maui, we won't be getting players like Carl Tamayo, KQ. Heck, if UP did not have Malik Diouf as an FSA the past couple of seasons, Carl Tamayo yung would be playing center. Diba? And sayang nga yung development eh. He would not probably have developed an outside shot. He would not have probably developed his wing and guard skills that has now allowed him to play in a league like the Japan B League. So very counterintuitive and very backwards ang pag-disallow ng FSAs for me. Sorry NCAA, I think you should
Bring it back.
reinstate that rule. Yeah, you bring it back. They were the pioneers, diba? Remember? Sam Ekwe was the pioneer of this. San Beda was the first to bring in one. Well, you could argue maybe si Kirk Long was a FSA for Ateneo, but really the the one who pioneered bringing in big FSAs was the NCAA, courtesy of San Beda. So I don't get why they disallowed it. Actually, is it? Uh, each team was only allowed one. It's not like it's gonna be a big detriment to the league or to each and every team. It's not like it's a big swing, diba? And if you're allowed two, the the advantage of having a really good one FSA will kind of be, I don't know, lessened, diba? Like for example, for this season, Malik Diouf was super better than the rest of the field, right? And that gave UP a much needed advantage against all other teams just because they had Malik Diouf. And other teams, are stuck with players like Mo Fati. Imagine if you had two and you had an option to field one or two players, and you wouldn't just if you're FU, you wouldn't just be stuck with a Mo Fati that you have to play a Mo Fati. You could play someone else, diba? So I think that's the way I look at it. I think it's very backwards to disallow foreign student athletes. If you look at the product and the games in the UAAP, it's very entertaining, and the FSAs are a big reason for that. So pareho kami ni Maui. Keep the FSAs there. Ako even add one more for each team. Sammy.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't disallow FSAs. I think what allowing FSAs, as you guys mentioned, makes things more interesting, makes things more competitive. So nasabi niyo na it has helped uh evolve din yung game ng mga locals natin, ng mga Filipinos natin. And I was gonna say, Gab, you mentioned it, yung FSAs, especially for this season, they were your Boleros. A lot of the FSAs were you nominated as Bolero. So it's not like they're an instant cheat code na basta may FSA ka, magaling yung team namin or instant lalakas kami ganun. That's not the case. You still have to look for like a good FSA, di ba? So hindi porkit malaki or nakakadunk ibig sabihin madaya na, di ba? Or cheat code na. So FEU struggled, but they fought even though they played small ball. So it I don't think, inisip ko lang kasi, bakit mo tatanggalin yung FSA? Madaya ba dahil ang lalaki nila, malalakas? But that's not necessarily true di ba? So, I think they bring more good things or positives to the table than really the negatives. Like, ano ba talagang negative? Yung issue na lagi na lang MVP yung FSA? Ano magagawa mo? Magaling naman sila. KQ naman made it as an MVP, but I'm not sure lang kung ano yung how they calculated that. But yeah, I agree. But I do want to say na I think I agree more with Maui na okay lang sa akin if NCAA sort of removed yung FSAs. Kasi for me, it's like, it makes it two very different leagues. UAAP, it's the league with the FSAs. Kung gusto mo mag-NCAA, if gusto mo sumali sa league na walang FSA, then go to the NCAA. A lot of like undersized bigs sort of flourish in the NCAA na maybe they don't flourish in the UAAP. Like, I was thinking about
Gozum.
seeing
Will
stars sa
Gozum.
like ayun. Will Gozum
Larry
sa Benil,
Muyang.
then also
Larry Muyang.
Larry Muyang
From
from
Letran.
Lasal, 'di ba? And then transferred to Letran. And I was thinking about like a guy like Sean Umali from Lyceum na he's dominant because he's so big and strong sa NCAA, pero kinda hard then for him to do that in the UAAP against like FSAs.
Kahit si Cliff Hopia, Sam.
Cliff
Hopia.
Hopia from FEU. I mean,
Who
FEU
will,
could have
will be
used
playing in
him
the finals, game 3, di ba?
today. He's playing in the finals today. So FEU could have used him. So okay din sa akin actually na walang FSA sa NCAA because guys like these, they get to play. But there's balance. So for me, for UAAP, they should keep the FSAs. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Okay, bilang Boleros and podcasters about the UAAP, gusto namin to. The question is, if you were the UAAP, would you lengthen the season? Masyadong maiksi yung season natin. Bitin lagi. It's just like 2 months or something in a year. So would you lengthen the season? Let's start with you this time, Gab.
As much as I want more games, I kind of like this format where every game matters. Diba? Since the season is so short and games are limited to 14 per team, every game is kind of a must win. And I kind of
Good
like that
point.
format
Good point.
for the UAAP, diba? You saw it with Ateneo this season. Early losses to Adamson and you kind of did them in their quest for a repeat, and even almost disallowed them from making the Final Four because they lost a lot of key games early on. And you know, in this format, every loss is kind of big. It kind of sets you
Yeah.
back, way back. Diba? So I kind of
Every game counts,
prefer
basically.
that. Yeah. So I kind of prefer this. Actually, what I would do, and I think we've said this throughout the season 86, is lengthen the season, but space the games more equitably.
No more 4
Just
game days, di ba?
no more 4 game days, guys. Just it's just a bad viewing experience for fans, a bad from a marketing standpoint, from a sales standpoint, it doesn't make sense to have 4 games a day, diba? Especially for those
Bring
teams
back
in the
TTH. TTH before di ba?
yeah TTH dati yung TTH yung Saturday Sunday, diba? And that was a better format, better space, more time to view the games. Yung medyo lugi yung mga teams sa 10 a.m. game, diba? Yung mga schools pala, sorry. Yung mga schools sa 10 a.m. game, who's watching at the game at 10 a.m. on a Wednesday, bro?
Hindi,
So
tsaka
I've
kahit,
said that.
yeah, Gab, to add lang doon, kahit yung players, di ba, lugi, they have school, there's students. If you have a 10 a.m. game, you're most likely going to miss all your classes the whole day.
True.
True.
And So, yun para sa akin, I kind of like this format, the double round robin, the double elimination round, and then a round robin, then final four, and then finals. It's much. It sucks for us because we only have a season for what 2.5 months, and then for the rest of the year we're left to talk about some random things already. But it makes the
Ngayon pa
league
lang.
more engaging. I ngayon pa lang, diba? So, no, I would not lengthen the season.
Maui.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Gab. Siguro number one step is to revisit yung Wednesday games. Maybe make it once a week. Only kung hindi man TTH, you can do Wednesday and then but only have two games. It's the four-day game days are so crazy to the fans, to the players, to everyone. I mean, the fan base of the UAP should be mostly the students, diba? Part of the one studying during in the schools. But in terms of like lengthening the season, I wouldn't also. But siguro if we go away with the Wednesday and make it just twice every Wednesday, maybe they can extend the league kahit papano a few weeks. It also wouldn't be so bad for the bodies of the players. But we see a lot of injuries also in the season.
Good point, Maui.
That's
Good point.
diba, that's something that they can also revisit based on that notion. But other than that, the final four, I think my only comments is maybe they should revisit yung twice beat advantage. In other leagues, I don't see kasi other leagues abroad or anywhere that has a twice to beat advantage in terms of like the final four. Diba? In leagues such as the USA, in the NCAA, they do it at a do or die game. So maybe they can revisit that. Kasi parang for me, yung chances of the third and fourth teams, I think si Pong Ducanes has posted this numerous times during Final Fours, that the chances of a third or a fourth seed going to the finals is like 20% or even less. Diba? So for it to be more exciting, maybe they can revisit that format, maybe make it a virtual best of three, or maybe they can do a do or die. I don't know what format works. But yeah, kasi yun para to get more weight then into making it to the final four, di ba? If teams only have a 20% chance to make it to the finals, maybe some teams just don't really fight for the final four anymore during the second round. They just try to maximize yung young players nila. But yeah, there are different dimensions, different circumstances. So yeah, that's something that comes into my mind when we talk about lengthening the season. Sam,
Good point dun sa ano no, sa do or die sa Final Four. Just to add to that siguro, I had a family friend who visited from the US recently. Tapos alam niyang basketball crazy tayo. I was talking about the podcast. So he asked about like the UAAP and he's really shocked. He was really shocked to know that we only had like 14 games or basically like 2 rounds sa UAAP. And I was trying to explain, oh, there's another league, NCAA, pero onti lang din. But siguro, so he was saying kasi, why don't you just do like a season and then do like March Madness parang sa NCAA sa US na do or die patayan brackets ganun. So sabi ko, "Ay, that's interesting."
meron
But
dati, Sam,
I
yung PCCL, follow the similar
oo,
format, I think.
okay, tama. But I guess to answer the question, when he was asking me about the length of the season, na-realize ko it's very hard for the UAAP to lengthen it then because what I think what they try to do also is they try to fit it within the semester. We know na during the first semester, basketball is admittedly the marquee sport for the UAAP, for college sports. And then pagdating ng second semester, it's volleyball. So I think that also comes into play. Like you have to fit it into semesters para at least divided din sila. Wala masyadong overlap. People can enjoy basketball muna and then later people can enjoy volleyball. Plus, if you're an athlete, you just have to like compete in one semester. Second sem, next sem, focus ka na sa aral, habol ka ng aral. Same thing with volleyball, maybe the players like they focus more on studies and training ngayon and then mas intense yung competition in the second sem. So I would say, as much as I want to watch more basketball games or make more content, it's really hard then given the setup of like the school. So definitely I wouldn't also lengthen the season. Not unless there are more teams. More teams
Pwede
involved,
rin.
definitely that has to be lengthened. So I guess that's my follow-up question. Maui or Gab, like we wouldn't lengthen the season, the format, but let's say Maui, you've been talking about this before sa Telegram natin. Would you add a battle for third at least? Or Gab, would you expand the league and add more schools? Let's go with you, Maui, first. Do you want to add a battle for third like the NCAA?
I would. I would. Kasi I really like yung format ng FIBA. If we're a FIBA league, if we're doing the rules based on FIBA, I think we really need to follow the format. Which is also the reason why I talked about yung twice to beat advantage. In FIBA, there's no twice to beat advantage. Your advantage as a top seed is you face the lower seed, which is what's prevalent also right now. So yeah, definitely I would consider adding a battle for third, but I wouldn't do it like NCAA na medyo ginulat I think yung teams. But I think it's a good idea of having that battle for third. It's also to show that we also value yung finishing in the podium as a third placer, di ba? Kasi it's not all about championship or bust. Siguro yun yung culture that we cultivated in the UAAP. It's championship or bust. Because there's no battle for third. If you're second, you're still not a champion. You don't get anything, di ba? I guess it's also in the spirit of competition, maybe. Yeah, those are my thoughts. How about you, Gab?
I'm kind of conflicted with the battle for third thing. Kasi, I don't know, parang not a lot of weight is given to third place now. Diba? Parang kung natalo ka na sa Final Four, it's kind of hard to get yourself ready for a battle for third game. Diba? I don't think the competition in that game is gonna be up yung in the same level. Especially if you're like a 1 seed who was upset by by a 4 seed. Then you have to go to a battle for third again and then possibly go down to fourth.
Parang
Medyo
Lyceum, di
nakaka-bad
ba?
trip.
Second seed natanggal.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. Yung parang Lyceum eh. So, ako medyo conflicted. I'm not totally into it. I get where you're coming from, Maui, no? Na parang kasi ang UAAP talagang it's all about the championship eh. Like if you're second place, you don't get any concession from it, diba? And more so if you're third, parang ano yung concession mo? Yung why do you want to get that third place? So I'm kind of conflicted. I don't want that. As for adding teams, I actually would. I would love to see more schools be in the UAAP. Siguro yun yung magiging side ko for lengthening the season. If maybe we can add more schools to the UAAP. This has been talked about previously in past years already. Diba? There were rumors in the early 2010s na San Beda was making a bid to join the UAAP. I don't know why it never pushed through. I think because San Beda is still not yet a university. Diba? I think yun yung battling point eh, or point of argument ng mga tao for sa San Beda. They're not yet a university. There's just a college pa lang. So I know there are certain rules for the UAAP for schools to enter the UAAP. And it seems like it's too stringent if after how many years no school has attempted to enter the UAAP.
Wala pa rin nakakapasok.
I also think it's very expensive to enter the UAAP. Imagine competing in that many events and having the budget to compete in the UAAP. So I would try as much as possible if I were the UAAP to get certain schools into the UAAP. You know, maybe extend the league to 10 rather than 8. I mean, I think it's about time, no? It's about time
Yeah.
na the UAAP think of adding schools to it. Bring up development. When you add more schools, you add more talent. You're able to open up your league to youngsters out there who may not have an opportunity to play in the UAP. Plus, more options for those bench players or those at the end of the bench for in other schools to transfer to these teams, diba? I mean, let's admit it. There are a lot of schools that hoard talent. Ateneo in the historically
Ateneo.
has done this, diba?
Yeah.
Diba? They have hoarded yung highly touted recruits.
Yeah.
And if you add more schools, that gives more options for young athletes to go to. And maybe have more parity. Hopefully, yun yung result, no? But as as we've seen from the history of the UAAP, there are some schools who really stockpile on talent. Sam.
Yeah. I just want to
Go,
add lang
Mau.
Sam dun sa kay Gab. I think yung pagpasok sa UAP is really an investment on the school. I agree it's going to be expensive. But we see schools such as FEU and NU really invest on their basketball teams. And maybe some teams ngayon really go hard sa volleyball. Because I think there's a correlation. If that school is doing well, it's open advertisement. If NU or FEU is doing well in basketball or volleyball or even the top sports, mas mararami rin yung enrollments eh. I think this was the strategy of FEU, which is why FEU was a powerhouse team during the early 2000s. And I think it has resulted in them having more campuses. So yeah, definitely, I am open to the UAAP having more teams. Maybe some colleges outside even of the NCAA, maybe smaller colleges, but yeah, we'll see. Tama si Gabe, yung opportunity to the players is also another dimension that's added when there are more teams, diba? Players will also have more games to showcase their talent, not just get more playing time. So yeah, Sam.
I would also add, if we were to expand, I would be really happy if there was a school from outside Metro Manila coming into the UAAP. Diba? Imagine
Mm.
yung reach ng isang school from Visayas or Mindanao. Like,
University, like sa Cebu, University of San
yung,
Carlos, ganun, or
yeah,
something, di ba?
yeah, the University
Cebu
of
ba
San
yun?
Carlos or the University of Visayas.
UV.
Imagine the
Visayas,
talent pool
UV.
that they have. Diba? Imagine the talent pool yung that they have from the Visayas region and then recruiting players from that region to play in a big league like the UAAP. I think that would be a very interesting wrinkle.
Yung logistics lang, how would it work?
Logistics, yun
Yun ang
nga eh.
problem
May
pag
home
ano,
and
pag
away games. May home and away games. Yeah, I think nasabi niyo naman na lahat. I think it would be really interesting to add more teams, add more schools, sorry, and expand the league. But I think logistics, budget, money wise, like it's really a big investment. No? Like we always talk about Lasal having mga personal chefs dun sa Lasal team. Imagine, it's really hard to keep up or to be competitive as a school in the UAAP. So, as much as I want to, mahirap din talaga. So, I understand why not a lot of schools are trying maybe or baka nga very restrictive din yung UAAP. As for Battle for Third, you know my stand on this. More games, more content, better for me. More fun. So I don't mind ending a battle for third. But Gab, you made a good point. I think if you think about it, it really makes it more advantageous for the fourth placer team. Kasi ano eh, 'di ba? Let's say assuming what's the worst case scenario? Fourth place versus like third place. So lugi agad si third place because by standings third place siya, baka bumaba pa siya. Mas lalo kang lugi kung number one team ka and then fourth place kalaban mo. Na bumaba ka pa to fourth place. So, it's fun for the viewers, but I guess magrereklamo yung team na matatanggal sa third place. So, I get your point, Cam. Good point. Next. Okay, I think this one is inspired by one of our viewers. If you were the UAAP, would you consider or would you lower the maximum age of eligibility, which is currently at 25 years old? Gab, sino nga nag-mention ito? I think it was mentioned
Si
by one of the
basketball
viewers.
fan 8888.
Shout out.
Yun. Shout out to basketball fan 888. Gab, you were the one who talked to him about this. You responded to this question. So, let's start with you. Explain mo muna yung question niya or yung concern.
Yeah, well, he was saying it's kind of di- it's kind of weird that in the UAAP players stay for such a long time that when they graduate they're already really old. Na a lot of prime basketball years are being spent in college basketball when they could actually be going pro already by the age of 21 or 22. Diba? So, and he mentioned also that there is a gap because a lot of high schoolers who come to the UAAP are already pretty old as well. Diba? I think he cited instances like Carl Tamayo was already 20 or 21 when he entered college. And uh, to answer the question, I would not actually lower the age of eligibility. Uh, since you simply because players and students have the option to leave early if they feel like they're ready
You're
for the
ready.
pro and they have an
Yeah.
offer out there. I think that those 5 years of eligible are those the maximum 5 years that you have in the UAP plus the maximum age of 25 that you get is more for those students or athletes who need more time to develop their games. You know, admittedly in the UAP there are a lot of kids and boys who come in who are not yet ready to go pro, and it takes them around 3 or 4 years or even more to become pro ready. And perhaps it becomes more glaring because there are exceptions to this, like in the past few years, some guys like Carl Tamayo, Lebron Lopez here. I'm trying to think of others who
Cambao.
came out of high
RJ
school.
Barrientos.
Yeah, Kevin Kiambao, RJ Barrientos. There are a lot of examples of players
Ay, si
and kids
Abando pala.
nowadays who come into the UAAP that they are super talented already, uh, and to expect them to stay for the complete 5 years, which admittedly, no, there are a lot of older alumni, older fans of the UAP who really do expect that. Parang sayang yung ba't ka umalis, hindi mo minakita
Sanay
yung
sa old
eligibility.
That's
school.
true. That's
Yeah,
true.
sanay, diba? When we were growing up, guys, diba? Sanay tayo na
Everyone
players
was
will
gonna
really,
finish.
They max
yeah,
out their eligibility, basically.
yep, they
Noon.
really max
Yun
out.
yung
Well,
uso.
noon. But now times are changing. If you're a really talented young guy, you want to cash in early. And this is the reason why I think a lot of players transfer as well. Diba? If they don't get playing time, they will transfer. Now, for us mga older fans, diba, parang yung ba't ka magka-transfer, yung wala ka bang loyalty and all that, yung dapat stay with your school, stick with your school. But I think for these players, they're looking for playing time also. They're looking for an opportunity to showcase their skills. And possibly cash in early and become a pro and get that big contract. So, to answer the question talaga, I as I said, no, I would not lower the age of eligibility. I think 25 is actually sufficient. There is something else I would do, and I think we will answer that. We will have that question later on in this episode. But yeah, that's it for me. I mean, if you want to leave early, leave early. If you want to stay for 4 or 5 years, then go, diba? I don't see any problem with it. Maui or Sam?
Yeah, I would have to agree with Gab. I wouldn't lower the age of eligibility. There are certain things I want to see. First off, yung dimension kasi there are different dimensions. It has really changed the dynamics. During the early 2000s, when players were expected to use yung 5 years eligibility nila, yung opportunities kasi ng players doon, possibility to go to the PBA. The PBA has strict rules. I think you have to be 4 years out of college. That's, I think, one of the main reasons why some of the players, even today, stay until they are 25. Kasi if you don't have an opportunity abroad, then the only way you can go pro here in the Philippines is if you get that you meet those criteria that the PBA has set. So I think that's one of the reasons why some players tend to stay longer. The other thing is I wouldn't lower it kasi if there's the players naman right now have the opportunity to leave when it's early, diba? It has already been shown by players like RJ Abarrientos, Carl Tamayo, SJ Belangel, even Kai Balungay, the most recent right now. So definitely, I wouldn't lower that. I wouldn't restrict yung chances ng players. Also, there are players such as Abando who are discovered at the age of 20 or 21. So if you limit the number of playing years he can play, if let's say you limit it to 23, then a player like Abando will only have two playing years, diba, to showcase his talent. So since most of the leagues are in Metro Manila, yung talagang premier leagues where players get recruited to the PBA or even abroad, that would also be disadvantageous to guys who are discovered late if we lower the age. Also, for players like CJ Cancino, who suffered multiple ACL injuries, diba, you would restrict the number of playing years niya if you lessen the age. So definitely, it would be disadvantageous to the players. Maybe you can say na advantageous talaga to some players. For some players like Cancino playing against 18 years old. But that's the reality of it. The most important thing is for me, remember, they are student athletes. So as long as they're students, they should be eligible to really play as athletes in any sport sa UAAP. That's my take. Even it's just even in the NCAA naman in the US, there are some players. I think may player ata sa Harvard who's 28, 27 or 26 years old. So that should be allowed. The problem is yun nga, may advantage. But at the end of the day, student comes first before athlete. So if you're enrolled in the school, you should be eligible. In my opinion, even yung 25 can be revisited. Maybe it's a hot take. But we're talking about non-pros naman eh. Everyone's a non-professional. So everyone should be eligible, in my opinion. Just so that we don't disadvantage, we don't discriminate people who are older when they get the opportunity. That's my take, Sam.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think the answer here is you don't have to. You don't have to lower the maximum age of eligibility because, as you guys mentioned, it's sort of correcting itself. Eh. It may seem like a disadvantage nga because older guys are playing against like younger guys, but also there are more opportunities now, as Maui mentioned. It's not like there's only one option, which is to go to the PBA. There are also other opportunities that these players can go to, wherein okay, now it becomes more lucrative for me to just leave and not max out my eligibility. I think yun yung point mo, Gab or Maui, kanina na hindi na rin naman siya the same as before wherein people always
Exactly.
maxed out their eligibility. Yun talaga nakasanayan natin noon eh. Kahit naman tayo, naabutan natin yung times na yun, diba, na auto-assume mo yan, 5 years, ima-max out. So, bilang na bilang mo, oh, may 2 years pa yan, ganyan. Ngayon, I think yun lang yung struggle as fans, no?
You don't know who's
Ngayon,
coming
what's
back.
hard is,
Diba?
hindi mo lang alam kung kailan sila aalis or sino babalik. But I think it's a good thing. So, lowering the maximum age, it helps more people than it hurts them. Kasi, as you mentioned, Maui, it's more for, or sorry, Gab pala, it's more for the guys that maybe don't get to play at the start, or Maui, yung mga na-injure, yung mga late na discover. So there are advantages to it then. And I think, with all the other opportunities to go pro now, it doesn't make sense for people to stay up to 25 if they're that good. If they're being
Yes.
offered B League money, KBL
Correct.
money, I mean, you're not gonna stay. Yung iba lang, yung mga super loyal lang na players like Jerome Lastimosa, I guess. But most of the time, you will take that offer. Best example na latest is Kai Balungay, di ba? Although hindi natin alam kung saan siya pala pupunta. Hindi natin alam yung
Actually,
according to
Sam,
Maui. Go
let's see
Maui.
kung saan. Hindi siya, actually, Sam, just to add lang, ang wish ko is the PBA should adjust. They should loosen yung rule
Good
nila.
luck.
Yung
Good luck
restrictions
to
Good luck,
us.
diba?
That's
But since we're already losing players naman abroad, I really think that they should start looking at that. Kasi before, no, they wanted seasoned players maybe, so you understand the rule. But right now, since a lot of players are starting to go abroad early, then maybe the PBA has to revisit that also to give players yun naman more options, more opportunities also.
para
Diba?
may option.
And also for the PBA to protect. If they want the locals to play in the PBA, then it's something that they really have to look at. Yun lang.
Okay, we will go to a related question later on. But I think, Gab, you mentioned another part of this question, which is, if you were the UAAP, would you, I'm looking at the opposite end, diba? We talked about 25-year-olds, so yung matatanda sa UAAP. Let's look at the other end of the spectrum, yung mga bata. If you were the UAAP, would you allow high school players to play in the seniors division? That's the question. Why we're asking this, I just want to give you an example. John Ray Pasaol, player for the FEU high school team, Baby Tams, he's not playing for FEU this year because he's overaged. So he's still in high school, pero hindi na siya eligible based on age. So he's taking a gap year in terms of like competitive basketball. I think like 3-on-3 siya for the Philippines in like a recent international
Yeah, he did.
competition.
He did.
SRJ.
So that's the question. Like, we know John Ray Pasol is really good. He can definitely play in the seniors team already. So if you were the UAP, would you allow high school players, especially those that are overage for the juniors, to already play in the seniors? Let's start with you, Gab.
Okay, so just so we prove that we know our history, I know a lot of older fans watch us. Yes, we do know that this happened before. Our parents keep on mentioning
Leo.
Steve Watson, Steve Watson, who was a senior in high school and played in the seniors division or in the college division, and actually I think won a championship or won MVP or something as a senior in high school. So we do know that. We don't know what happened since. I mean, the UAP doesn't really have a rule book for us to read at all. I mean, we they don't have one. We just basically hear or read it in the news that they have these rules. So we don't know what happened then since that time, why high schoolers are not anymore being allowed to play in the seniors division. Because if they were allowed to play, then if you were FU, you would have put John Ray Pasaol in your seniors team. Diba? He's that good already. And Kirby Moncopa, who's another guy in the FEU juniors division, who's taking a gap year because he's overaged for high school. Diba? Well, I do get the age limit for high school division, diba? You don't want naman grown men playing in a boys league. Diba? I do get that part. So I think the adjustment has to be made by the UAP seniors division to allow players from high school to play in seniors. I mean, is it really that much of a loss to allow younger players to play? What if these players are already ready for higher level competition? Kevin Cambao, for example. Cambao took a gap year right before playing for LaSalle in season 84.
Barrientos.
Because nga he was
Diba?
RJ Abarientos,
RJ
same,
Abarientos.
diba? It doesn't make sense for them in high school just taking a year off just because they're too old for high school and yet they're not yet eligible for college. And also this, if you're the seniors team, this kind of protects your investment in these younger players, diba? you have them already for high school, most likely yung they will go to your college because they're playing already for you. Diba? I want to look back to a certain incident involving Jerry Pingoy, diba? Huge publicized story. FEU MVP, juniors MVP, went to Ateneo, caused a big fuss, diba? The Jerry Pingoy rule. Well, even if he was eligible for high school, I think FEU would have, if he played for the FEU seniors team, I think he would have stayed in FEU and played for the seniors division, di ba? So, for me, ito yung sagot para sa akin dun sa maximum age of eligibility at 25 years old. I mean, if you're already playing high-level basketball at a very early age, I think you could see development shoot up. Now, once you hit your third year and fourth year in the league, like if you're 21, you have developed already your game and now you're ready for the pro. Now maybe you won't have players who are 24, 25, grown freaking men playing against 18 or 19 year olds because since they've been playing competitive basketball really early on, they're now really developed yung by the time they're 21 and 22. Now they still have a lot of prime basketball years left to play and go pro and earn money. So, I mean, Europe does this, diba? Maui, Sam, diba? Luka was playing professionally when he was
Luka,
16, 15.
Ricky
Diba?
Rubio.
Well, yeah, well, I know they are exceptions, but I think if you're a really talented high school player and you're really on that level already, you should not be wasting your time. Sorry to the term, you wasting your time. You should not be wasting your time playing against, literal kids in the high school division, diba? You go pro. You play with grown men. So I'm all for this. I think you should allow yung high school players to play in the seniors or in the college division. Sam or Maui?
Yeah. Sam, do you want to go
Go ahead,
first?
Maui.
Yeah,
Uh, go.
ako naman
Go,
opposing
go.
view ako. As much as I want players to get the opportunity, as much as I want players not to waste yung years nila eligible, we're talking about a non-professional league. It's different from Luka Doncic or even sila Josh Giddey and Ricky Rubio having the opportunity to play against professionals at a young age. I think it's more on the PBA, allowing players to be able to play earlier. I think I mentioned this a while ago na very restrictive ang PBA when it comes to players playing at a young age. But when it comes to the UAAP, there's just too much to handle for me. If I'm the UAAP commissioner, having players from the high school division play the seniors level is gonna be a nightmare in terms of like yung eligibility, looking at everything. And how do you count yung years of eligibility when they get to college? Is the playing year when he was in high school already 1 year? So there are a multitude of factors that you have to look at if you reinstate this. I think the good thing with this is, I mean, the silver lining we have right now is that I think the PBA D League and leagues like the Phil Oil, Pinoy Liga allow these players actually to play with the college students. But when it comes to them being allowed to play in the college level, it's just too many factors for me to look at for them to be eligible. I think that's the sad reality of this. But then again, maybe the silver lining is they get some opportunity through other leagues like Pinoy Liga and the likes. But it's just too much. Too much. Masyado madaming factors to consider if you would allow this. Maybe the UAEP can visit this. Maybe seniors only can be allowed. Kasi what if, di ba, what if you have like a LeBron James, di ba, like a sophomore, already ready to play in the seniors division? Will you allow that? So I would be open to it, but maybe there will be a very long list of things that the UAP will have to prepare in terms of the rule book for this to ever happen. Maybe there's other ways for these players to be eligible agad sa college. I think some players try to get accredited as high school graduates, di ba? Like the likes of Jerwin Gaco ata or even si Mac Cardona. And I think this is one of the reasons why Lasal got di ba? Got suspended kasi
Suspended.
hindi pala ayos yung papers nila Benitez and some other player. So maybe that's another route.
Gatsalian. Team
Gatchalian.
Gatsalian.
Team Gatchalian. So in the US, what these players do is they reclassify to another class. So let's say you're in the class of 2023. You reclassify yourself to 2022 by I don't know, maybe getting some accreditation to be eligible for college early. So that's maybe another option that these players can look at. Maybe the UAAP can help establish yung rules for this also. Diba? So we get these players, these young players who deserve to play and are ineligible everywhere are eligible to play because diba we want naman open opportunity for any group, diba? So that's my thoughts, Sam.
So, Maui, ano lang just to kind of try to repeat what you're saying. I like that last part that you said. Maybe fast track their education, quote unquote, since again, no, this is a very slippery slope, diba? Would you really want to fast track high school players? Yung
Baka
in high
maging iba
school.
yung
When,
yeah. Baka lahat
yeah,
fast
but
track bigla, di ba?
yung baka lahat i-fast track bigla. No? I know there will be schools that will take advantage of this. But, if there are really players, like, let's say si Lebron Lopez, si Francis Lopez, sorry. When Francis Lopez was in a sophomore in high school, he was already way more athletic and developed than anyone in uh, his class or his year. He was just so above the competition already. So I think if you allowed him, maybe take an exam, take some courses, just to fast track his education so that he can play.
Reclassification. Parang sa US.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
medyo, 'di ba, makita mo naman, he's not his future is in basketball. He has a future in basketball. He's that talented of a player. Maybe you could make some sort of way to fast track their education so that they can further develop their talent. Again, I think it's gonna be hard here in the Philippines. I do agree with you, Maui, na this notion of not prioritizing your studies and just trying to get money off of your trying to get a career out of a sport. The US and Europe has actually embraced this kind of thinking that they know when youngsters are not meant for really the traditional route of education and are really meant to play a sport as their careers. Hence, they try to develop these kids at an early age pa lang, no? So I want to see something similar here. Again, no, tama si Maui, a lot of factors have to be taken into account. The fast track thing, that's gonna be pretty contentious also. Sammy.
I think what we all agree with here is we want the continued growth and development of players. Yun lang naman yung gusto natin eh. And that's why we're giving, let's say, like Pasaol as an example because he's a really talented young player that doesn't get to compete at like the highest level, which is supposedly UAAP juniors and then UAAP seniors for 1 year because of like his age eligibility, di ba? So I think lahat naman tayo agree doon. Na we want na continued growth and development for these players so that they can be the best that they can be as a player, for example. So if you just ask that question, the answer is obvious. To Maui's point, as much as we want to make it happen, let's say Pasaol playing for the FEU seniors team, marami talagang logistics involved or even yung maraming marami kang hurdles na tatalunin for you to be able to execute that or do that. Eligibility issues pa lang, fast tracking, etc. Naisip ko din, let's just say, di ba, he's still in senior high school. Let's say grade 12 siya, but he's playing for the seniors team. Iba ang schedule ng grade 12 student sa college student, di ba? So, may ganung factors pa involved na will you exempt this one grade 12 student or two in the case of FEU, sabi mo Gab, may dalawang players na too old for juniors. Will we make an exemption for just two players in order to accommodate them in the seniors division? Mahirap. So, in theory, it would be good for them, it would be helpful for them, but execution-wise, mahirap. So, we understand why maybe they don't do the Watson thing anymore, like what they did in the past, because ang dami mo lang talagang rules na dadaanan and logistics na kailangan pa isipin in order to implement or execute. But I think yung isang example na nasabi mo, Maui, which I think is also good for non-pro basketball, is the emergence of leagues like Pinoy Liga, wherein it's like a regular competition for where juniors can join and also senior players that don't get to play. This is medyo off topic na, but ang ganda sa Pinoy Liga because kung junior ka, pwede ka sumali, ay kung high school ka, pwede ka sumali. Like we saw, sina pa sa all play there. But also, yung mga nagre-residency na players mo, pwede mo sila isali dun sa mga types of competition na yun. And then you're competing against, other schools as well. So, maybe things like that could be a solution to this. So yun lang yung sa akin, my few cents there. We're almost to an hour. Let me na lang, quick round up. I have a couple more questions for you guys. First, if you were the UAAP, would you allow the players, similar to the NCAA, would you allow players to get drafted while they're still in the UAAP or while they're still part of the league? So, example dito, NCAA, a lot of the players, they actually joined the PBA draft, but they still joined the NCAA season this season. So, I think yung latest was si Enoch Valdez. Played for Lyceum, they lost dun sa Final Four and then joined his team na, I forget, Rain or Shine ba yun or something like that. But whatever. So, if you were the UAP, would you do something similar? Let's start with you, Maui. Quick thoughts on that.
Sorry, I would do it. I would allow players to get drafted or to be parang scouted or I mean the main thing is for me is hindi lang sila signed as pro players. I think when it comes to eligibility, ito rin yung pinaglaban for Francis Lopez, 'di ba? He wasn't signed yet to be a professional. So yeah, I would agree. Sayang kasi yung one playing year. That's something I realized throughout the years. I think players such as Anto Onasisco, in Ateneo's case, had to wait a full year just to get drafted sa PBA. It's the case for all of them, all of the seniors in the UAAP. Imagine being 24, 25 years old, then you have to wait a full year just to be able to get drafted in the PBA. I think the UAAP should revisit this. It should be similar to the way it's done in the NCAA. They get drafted but they don't sign contracts yet. They only sign the contract once they want to play for that team already. And when you sign that contract, you relinquish also your future eligibility for the UAAP. So yeah, I would definitely. Gab.
Ako, no-brainer naman to. I mean, if it's just getting drafted
Yep.
and,
Easy question.
they're not being paid to play in the UAAP, they're not being paid by pro teams yet, then why not, diba? I mean, it doesn't do them and it just benefits the players. It doesn't do anything to harm the league. So, I mean, it's for the players' benefit and the league doesn't get anything adverse from it. So, why not? Allow it. Watch out for the players.
Yeah, let me just add, no? To be fair to the NCAA, kanina we were hitting them on restricting FSAs or disallowing FSAs. So sabi natin, ano ba tong NCAA, binagbawalan yung FSA. Pero meron silang mga progressive, meron silang mga progressive rules. For example, this one, I think, UAAP should copy kasi it's a good idea by the NCAA to allow their players to at least get drafted kahit na they're still playing for their team. One last question, since medyo naging hot topic siya, hindi hot topic, but like naging relevant siya because of JD Kagulangan's eligibility. If you were the UAAP, would you just remove yung, when you shift to schools and you do residency, should we just remove yung eligibility, not count it as an eligibility year? So, as you know, diba, right now, when you move to another school, you have to sit out for 1 year. Yung 1 year na yon, that counts as 1 year of your eligibility. So, should we just remove that eligibility and allow
From
people
UAAP
to...
to UAAP. Diba? Tama ba?
UAAP
Yeah,
to
UAP to
UAAP.
UAP
Tama ba,
lang.
Maui?
Yeah,
Okay,
UAP
so
to
yun.
UAP.
So, should we just remove that eligibility year? So, you still sit out, pero it doesn't count as your eligibility. Gab, let's start with you and then
Sige.
let's end with Maui.
Ako, yes. While, I think this rule kasi is very anti-player and more pro-school or pro-team. Kaya nangyayari itong mga residency year, gap year na ini-implement na UAAP is for schools and teams to protect their quote-unquote investment in a player. Diba? To more of discourage young players to transfer schools because we already invested scholarship in you, training in you. Kaya pag lumipat ka, sasayang isang taon mo. So that's very anti-player, diba? What if that player is not getting playing time or his future is in basketball but he's wasting a year you're riding the bench? Then they're punished for transferring to a school. Diba? They have to spend 1 year yung sitting out. I really think that the UAP should do away with this. I mean, teams in the USA, schools in the USA don't have this rule. Players can transfer, diba? Freely. I mean, it's a player's choice. If they want to go to another school, then they will go to another school. Maybe the question now becomes, maybe we should regulate the benefits that schools offer or teams offer to these players as to why it's so difficult for why it's so difficult for the schools to let these players go. Again, no?
Ibang podcast yan, Gab. Isang buong podcast yan kapag ganyan yung tanong.
Yeah, but if you ask me, guys, I think this residency year thing should be removed already. I mean, if a player wants to transfer, then let him transfer. It's their choice. Why are the schools or the teams trying to restrict players' choices, diba? Or these young kids' choices? I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. Maui or Sam?
Yeah, ako yung take ko dito is definitely remove the residency year as being counted as a year of eligibility. But in terms of like redshirting, I would
Pero
agree
dapat
na,
mag-residency pa rin.
yes, dapat pa rin
Mag-redshirt pa rin, di ba?
Yes, so I think yung penalty na yon is for both the team getting and the player transferring.
Yeah.
But in terms of like a player losing a year of eligibility, which is the case right now in the UAAP, I would not. I would go away with that. I mean, di ba, some players just decide to go to the NCAA kasi at least they still have, let's say, if you're a rookie, you still have 4 years eligibility. Imagine if you transfer in the UAAP, you burn and you ride the bench. You burn 2 years of eligibility na agad, di ba? If we are to retain the current rule. So I agree when it comes to the redshirting kasi it's gonna be really crazy, di ba? If players just keep on jumping teams. So I would retain yung residency year, but I wouldn't count it as a year of eligibility. So even if that player transfers, he will still have the full 5 years as eligibility for playing years, not counted yung residency year. So yeah, I think that those are my thoughts. I just don't want yung players losing another year of eligibility, 'di ba? Imagine if a bench warmer, a top recruit gets becomes a bench warmer for a good team and then decides to transfer to another school. Imagine he burned already almost half ng eligibility niya in college. So, yun lang. Maybe yung penalty na enough for me, yung 1 year that he rode the bench and then 1 year that he has to sit out to play for another team. Too much na yung that year that he has to sit out to be counted as an eligibility year.
True.
Sam?
True. No, I agree. Redshirting is still important for me because at least to Gab's point, it helps protect yung investment nung other team, and to prevent like people just jumping all the time, like lahat na lang maglilipatan. But the eligibility is the one that's medyo masyadong masakit, I guess, for the player. So I agree with removing yung eligibility, yung residency as part of your eligibility para best example nga is JD, 'di ba? Buti nagawa ng paraan because he moved to another school prior to UP, pero if he had to go through that just to be able to save a year of eligibility. Sana
Players lang
mas madaliin
tinatamaan
lang.
Sam, yun yung point ko. Players lang tinatamaan with that rule.
Correct. Okay. That's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed that medyo UAAP themed episode natin, not specifically to a team, but if you have thoughts, just share them down below. If you have questions about the UAAP, things that you want them to change, we really enjoyed yung mga comments niyo before. Again, special shout out to Basketball Fan 8888. Tama ba? 4 na 8. For inspiring
Apat na
this
8, apat
segment.
na 8.
And happy holidays to everyone. I hope you enjoy. Take care. Bye-bye.